Hello everyone, this is Glenda Winkleman and welcome back to Creative Grandma. It's Stitch of the Week time, and this week I have a beautiful stitch called the bean stitch. This is pattern number 234. It's available on my website creativegrandma.net. Just click Stitch of the Week and it'll show you those stitches, and you can download it free. It's an immediate download, as well as all my other Stitch of the Week. This is a beautiful woven stitch. I have three samples here. I have this one, which I've done in very pretty pastel colors of pink, yellow, blue, and green. These are all Red Heart Super Saver 4 medium weight worsted weight yarn. This is the rainbow. I also done one in the classic white, which I always do. You can really see how that pattern shows up on that white. And I also did one using a multicolor with the purples. And this also is a Super Saver. Let me zoom out just a little bit, see if you can see the pattern a little better, where it weaves one way and then it goes the other. Very, very, very beautiful stitch. Now this stitch pattern here is, you chain an odd number. So you would chain like 35, 37, 39, 41, anything with an odd number, and then you must add 2 at the end of your chain. When you get it as long as you want, then please add 2. That gives you the amount of chains that you need to get your project started. Now if you're following along with this video today to learn this stitch, I used a worsted weight and a size 10J 6mm hook. But if you want to use a different yarn, then grab whatever yarn you want to use and whatever hook size is recommended for that yarn. You're going to need to chain 31. So get your chain 31 ready, and I'll be right back to get the stitch started. I have my chain 31 ready, and we're getting ready to start our base row. And to start the base row is, we're going to just jump right in and do that bean stitch right across our base row. So we're going to begin by skipping the first 2 chain, and you're going to insert your hook into that 3rd chain from hook. Yarn over the hook, and you're going to pull it through that chain. You're going to hold on to your chain and pull up on your crochet hook, and you're going to make that loop a little bit longer. You want to keep it loose and long. We're going to make another loop. This time, yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain space, yarn over the hook, pull it through the chain, grab a hold of the bottom of your chain, pull up on your crochet hook. You want to keep those long and loose. You now have 4 loops on your hook. We need to do it one more time. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain space, yarn over the hook, and pull it through the chain. Pull up on that hook. Keep those loops long and loose. You have 6 loops on your hook. 2, 4, 6. Yarn over the hook and pull it through all 6 loops on your hook. And we're going to chain 1 to secure your bean stitch. You just made your first bean stitch. Congratulations. So we're just going to repeat this process across our chain. So this is the beginning of our repeat. We're going to skip the next chain. You're going to insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over the hook, bring it through the chain, kind of grab that chain and then pull up on your crochet hook and make that loop a little bit longer. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain stitch, yarn over the hook, pull it through that chain, keep a hold of your chain down here and then pull up on that crochet hook and keep these long and loose. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain stitch, yarn over the hook, pull it through the chain. Grab a hold of the bottom of your chain, pull up on that crochet hook. You want to keep them long and loose. When you pull up on that crochet hook, you'll know how far it'll go. It'll only go so far. That's how far you want to go. You have 6 loops on your hook, 2, 4, 6. Yarn over the hook, pull it through all 6 loops on your hook, chain 1 to secure. That's all there is to the bean stitch for the first row. I'll show you one more time, and then you're going to repeat this across. You're going to skip the next chain. You're going to insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over the hook, pull it through the chain. Keeping a hold of this chain foundation row, you're going to lift up on your hook and you're going to pull that loop up. You're going to keep it a little bit longer and try to keep it loose. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain space, yarn over the hook, pull it through that chain. Keep a hold of that foundation row, pull up on your crochet hook. You have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain space, yarn over the hook, pull it through that chain, grab a hold of the bottom of your foundation chain, pull up on that hook. You want them a little bit longer. You have 6 loops on your hook, 2, 4, 6, yarn over the hook, pull it through all loops on your hook, chain 1 to secure. So that is your repeat. Repeat the bean stitch across. You're going to skip the next chain, work a bean stitch in the next, skip the next chain, a bean stitch in the next, and when you get to the end of your chain, you will be working your last bean stitch right in that last chain. So work across and I'll meet you at the end of row 1. I'm at the end of row 1 and this is what your work should look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work row 2 like I'm working in one color, and when I get to the end of row 2 I will change colors. This way if somebody wants to make this in a solid color, they'll know how to chain and turn their work. And for between rows 2 and 3 I'll change colors. That way you know how to change colors. I'll show it both ways. So to work in a solid color and keep on working in a continuous manner, you just did your last bean stitch and make sure you chain 1 to secure that stitch. So to work row 2, you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and you're going to turn your work. So for row 2, the best way I can describe to a beginner crocheter or anyone learning this stitch, if you stretch these stitches, you're going to see these little triangles. You're going to see one, let me pull this apart here. Here's my second bean stitch, just pull that and you'll see this triangle right here. And if you look to the left of the stitch, you'll see these when you pull it, ever so slightly. You just pull that and you'll see these triangle spaces. That's where you're going to work your bean stitch. So for row 2 is going to be the same process of making the bean stitch. Here's our chain 2. We're going to skip the bean stitch and look for this triangle to the left of the first bean stitch. So you're going to bring your hook down. Let me see if I can stretch this. You're going to insert it into that triangle space right there to the left of your stitch. Yarn over the hook and pull it through that space. Pull up on that hook, yarn over the hook, insert it into the same, in that same space, yarn over the hook and pull it through that space. You now have 4 loops on your hook, and I pulled my hook up to make those stitches tight. I'm trying to pull this apart so you can see where the stitches are going. It's a little hard to hold this and do it at the same time. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same triangle space to the left of that stitch, yarn over the hook, pull it through that space. You made all your stitches in that same triangle space to the left of your bean stitch. You should have 6 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yarn over the hook, pull it through all 6 loops on your hook, chain 1 to secure. You just made your first bean stitch of row 2. So now you're going to look for that next triangle stitch to the left of the next bean stitch. So just pull it a little, just slightly pull it. Here's your bean stitch. Here's the little triangle. this is where you're going to work your stitch. So stretch that, look for your space with the little triangle, insert your hook from front to back. Yarn over the hook, pull it through that space, pull up on your hook, make that a little bit longer and loose, yarn over the hook, insert it into that same triangle space to the left of the stitch, yarn over the hook, pull it through that space. You now have 4 loops on your hook, pull up on that, yarn over the hook, insert it into that same triangle space, yarn over the hook and pull it through that space. Pull up on your hook. You have 6 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yarn over the hook, pull it through all 6 loops on your hook. Chain 1 to secure. You just made your next bean stitch. So you're just going to continue in that manner. Look for your next triangle stitch, insert your hook into that space, yarn over the hook, pull it through, pull up on that hook, yarn over the hook, insert it into that same triangle space to the left of your stitch, yarn over the hook and pull it through that stitch. Pull up on your hook and you should have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same triangle space to the left of that stitch, yarn over the hook and pull it through that space. All your stitches were made in that same space on the left side of your bean stitch. You should have 6 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yarn over the hook, pull it through all 6 loops on your hook. Chain 1 to secure. So go ahead and work all the way over to the end of row 2. I want you to stop. Here's your last bean stitch of row 1. So work in the next to the last bean stitch and save the last bean stitch, and I'll show you how to finish row 2. I'm over at the end of row 2, and this is what your work should look like. So now we're getting ready to work our last bean stitch of the row. So you're going to skip your last bean stitch here, and then you have a chain 2 space. So you're going to insert your hook right between the last bean stitch and this chain 2 space, right in that space. You're going to work your bean stitch, just like you did all the other bean stitches. Pull up on that hook. We have 6 loops on the hook. Yarn over the hook, pull through all 6 loops, chain 1 to secure. You just finished row 2. Now you chained 1 to secure, so now what we're going to do is we're going to change colors. So you leave this loop here, you grab your new color. I leave about a 2 or 3 inch length. Just bend that down, put it right over top your old color. You're going to yarn over the hook and pull that new color through. You're going to come down here and you're going to pull this pink yarn tight and pull that clear down so you don't see that pink loop, and then your new color will be the loop showing. So now you're just going to begin your second row. You're going to chain 2. You're going to turn your work. Now at this point, I come down here. You can either leave these loose. I'm just going to cut this end. You can leave them loose and weave them in at another time or when you're finished with your work, or you can go ahead and just secure them with a knot. So I tied a knot. Now I'm going to begin the next row with my new color. You're going to work it the same as you worked row 2. You're going to insert your hook into that first space, the triangle space on the left side of your bean stitch. So insert your hook. Let me get these ends out of the way, yarn over the hook, pull it through that space, pull up on your hook, yarn over the hook, insert it into that same space, yarn over the hook, pull it through that space. You now have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same space, yarn over the hook, pull it through that space. You now have 6 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yarn over the hook, pull through all 6 loops on your hook, chain 1 to secure. So that's how you change colors. That's how you start your next row when you're changing colors. And then you continue working your bean stitch in the triangle space on the left side of your stitch. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the bean stitch. Here is my sample changing colors in every row. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the bean stitch, stitch number 234. This pattern is available for free immediate download on my website, creativegrandma.net. So get on there, click on Stitch of the Week, and all the Stitch of the Week patterns are free immediate download. So happy crocheting, everybody, and get creative with that crochet. See what you can do. Until next time, happy crocheting.